clarity is the ultimate currency. Now, you've probably heard that saying before. It's used in different businesses, it's used in different milieus, but I want to talk today about why clarity is the ultimate currency of the professional kitchen. Welcome back to the Restaurant Incubator. My name is Brandon Sharp. As an executive chef, I earned 7 Michelin stars, and now as a chef and entrepreneur, I have 3 restaurants here in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. We have Hawthorne and Wood, Bluebird, and Proximo. So, clarity, first of all, when Elizabeth and I conceived of the restaurant that would become Hawthorne and Wood, we started with 2 legal pads, right? We each sat down in this room right here. We each sat down and each had a legal pad and a pen, and we wrote down all of the words that we wanted ourselves to associate, our teams to associate, our guests to associate with Hawthorne and Wood. All the nouns, all the adjectives. We want it to be this, we want it to be warm, inviting, and comforting, interesting, all these words, right? Okay, so then we said, all right, you done? You done. Take as much time as you want. We're done. Okay, so then go back, cross out half of them that are not going to make the final cut. So we did that. Then we combined the list, crossed out any redundancy. So we had one list, and we cut that in half, and then we cut that in half, and then eventually we narrowed what we wanted for the guest experience, our experience, and the team members' experience at Hawthorne and Wood down to 4 things. And we chose clarity, focus, precision, and grace. So to me, those covered all of the aspects of both guest and employee interactions, experiences within the 4 walls of the restaurant. They should also cover, not to go unmentioned, the experiences that both the investors and vendors have, when they are interacting with the restaurant. But every phone call that comes in, every guest that leaves with a fond farewell, every employee when they arrive at work, everyone should be treated with clarity, focus, precision, and grace. Every interaction, every recipe, every cocktail, everything. And so, again, today we're going to talk about clarity, and it is the first of the core principles for us at Hawthorne and Wood. And so, one thing that I've been super enthused about, impressed about, and humbled by is the quality of thought, effort, expertise, knowledge that has come from these interviews I've done with other chefs. Some of them I've worked for in the past, some of them I've just met, some of them I've admired for years but never gotten to speak with. And as I said before the interview with Alex Green and Dallas Rose, everyone I've met is just in attack mode. You cannot be passive and get into the restaurant industry, especially at an executive or ownership level. So all of these operators, owners, chefs, mixologists, everybody is just, they're leaning in, they are moving forward, they are moving with purpose. And so I've learned so much from them already that I've been a little bit humbled, I have to say, and man, like, what can I do on these solo podcasts that is going to continue to reach people and teach them things that they don't already know? And again, this podcast is geared for you if you are a chef's cuisine, an executive chef on the rise of opening your own place. This is not necessarily geared toward seasoned operators, though I hope that y'all will get something out of this too. So one, that has compelled me to, I've got several ideas for solo pods that I've just thrown out. So I'm like, this is not at the level of things that I'm talking about with my interviewees. And 2, y'all probably know this, maybe you don't, but you can go on to ChatGPT 4, 5, whatever, and tell it, this is my idea for a podcast. Write me a script, base it on stuff I've written on Substack or stuff that I've recorded already on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. And it will spit out a terrible podcast script, but it will spit out a podcast script, and you can make it longer, add this detail, add a joke here, whatever it is. And so, knowing that there are, first of all, a ton of Substack writers, a ton of content on social media, and a ton of podcasts that are just AI generated, has also made me want to think of things that are, I need to be delivering to y'all, if you're going to get quality, a product that is both based on my unique experience and expertise and keep it topical. So, outpacing, or at least making it at least as interesting, hopefully much more interesting than the interviews, and also outpacing what anybody can just discover on AI. So, I go back and I look at the episodes about, where I go line by line through the P&L. It's circled, it's highlighted, there are notes. And I think that that is extremely useful stuff that you guys like to have, but maybe you could get something like that from AI in a distilled form, probably not to that level of, probably not to that granular level, but I'm sure it's out there. But anyway, this episode on clarity, I'm taking it from a lot of personal experience, a lot of personal expertise, and so I think that you will find value in this. So, as far as clarity goes in the professional workplace, professional restaurant, professional kitchen, first of all, learn Spanish. You will do yourself a service. You will show respect to others that are probably going to be working for you if you at least know workplace Spanish, kitchen Spanish, conversational Spanish. Simple as that, cut and dried. Learn Spanish. Um, so a second note on clarity when it comes to especially your frontline workers, your reservationists, your hostess, probably your bartender, and your servers. In terms of clarity, teach your team to listen actively and to practice internal hospitality. So your managers need to practice internal hospitality by, every employee when they come to work, your chef, your manager should be greeting them, asking them how they're doing them. They don't have to say something snarky like "Welcome to work." I fucking hate when somebody says that. But "Hey, good to see you." And everybody that's on your team should be somebody that you're excited to work with. So it shouldn't be somebody that you're dreading to see or somebody that you're rolling your eyes when they walk in the door. If that's the case, then it's time for them to go or it's time for you to go. So internal hospitality is very important. Your manager, especially if it's a front of house manager, is probably a sensitive person, probably attuned to, if they're working in the front of the house, they probably know how to read verbal and nonverbal cues. And so they need to be checking in with each server. Every server, every employee is going to want and need and respond to a different type of leadership, a different style of communication. Your managers need to be tuned into that and be clear in their communications with those people. That does not mean that there is a double standard. That just means that some people respond to firm coaching. Some people respond to one-on-one coaching. Some people, believe it or not, respond to being called out in front of others. And that's the only way you can compel them to do something. So the message at lineup to everybody should be the same. Don't forget to make sure that your managers and chef use that time at lineup, not just reading a piece of paper that they've already sent them of lineup notes, but there should be something interactive. There should be some dialogue. Pull something out of those servers. They want to contribute. They want to show how smart they are. So use that time at lineup effectively. So listening actively, I touched on that. That is a crucial skill for not only hospitality for your frontline workers, but also for sales. If they're taking the time to say, "Well, yes, this is a Spanish restaurant. We don't have any Chardonnays on the menu. You said that you like Chardonnay. Maybe you would like to try this Albarino. Whatever it is." So listening actively. It makes the guests feel listened to. It makes them feel understood. It makes them feel smart. And also, it obviously helps get their order in correctly. Another point of clarity, chefs, digitize your recipes, put them in grams and milliliters. It's very confusing. You give me you put a cup of flour on the recipe. Well, a cup of flour is 8 ounces, but if you put 8 ounces in the 8 ounces of flour in the recipe, is that liquid ounces or is that ounces by weight? Because the two aren't the same, right? A cup of flour weighs about 4 ounces. A cup of sugar weighs about 6.5, 6 3/4 ounces. A cup of water weighs 8 ounces. Skip all that shit, get out the scale, put it in grams, put it in metric, scale out everything in grams, and just have that be the case going forward. It's so much easier to multiply tens than it is 16s. How many pounds, how many ounces? Okay, it's 2 pounds, 4 ounces. That is so much faster and easier to say in grams. It's not even funny. So once you've got them scaled out in grams and milliliters, get yourself an iPad, put Google Sheets on there, put all of your recipes in Google Sheets, share that with the entire team. So that doesn't mean that recipe notebooks for your cooks should become a thing of the past. They should not. There should be an iPad that's on the pass or that's on the wall. They go in, they bring up the recipe they want, they scribble it down in their notebook, and it dead ends right there. So where recipes get screwed up is when you taught your sous chef 5 years ago to make the tuile batter, and he scribbled it down in his notebook, and he taught the pastry cook, and she taught the garde manger cook, and she taught the next garde manger cook, and he taught the next garde manger cook, and he taught the next garde manger cook, until it's been transcribed 7 times over, and all of a sudden, at one point, the salt got left out, and nobody knows when. But now the tuiles taste terrible because they don't have that 2 grams of salt that sharpens the flavor. So digitize your recipes, get them in Google Sheets. It makes them infinitely more shareable. You create one master recipe template, make a copy of that, type in your recipe, share it with the recipe file, and that's all you got to do. So that's one point of clarity. There was a Canadian chef, can't remember his name, and this would have been about 20 years ago that he was hot, and his cookbook came out, and it didn't have any sauce recipes in it, and he was famous, and he even wrote about it in this cookbook. He would go in the middle of the night, he would go into work, and that's when he would do his sauce work. And so that's fine, man. If you wanna operate in the dark like that, if you want to be a lone genius, surrounded by 1,000 disciples, that's fine. But I just don't agree with that ethos. I think that transparency is key. I think that we are in an artisanal trade. I think that our trainees, our future artisans, the chefs that we train should be able to stand on our shoulders. I'm sure that whoever taught Stradivarius to make violins made them almost as good as Stradivarius. And then he said, "Oh man, there's this one little tweak that I'm going to do to it," or his craft grew over the next 40 years of him making violins by himself, and then he passed it on to someone else. It should be the same with cooking. That's we all only got to where we are by the knowledge that was passed up to us, from those who came before us. And that's a big theme of this show. So, don't keep your light under a bushel. Don't hide your light under a bushel, whatever maybe it's just under a bush. I don't know. Can't remember what the phrase is. It's a long gone idiom. But anyway, share those things, be transparent, be clear in your recipe and in your recipe writing and the way that those are passed around through the kitchen. Another point of clarity where it is easy to fall into this trap and make missteps is on all of your guest facing platforms. This still happens to me at Proximo. We opened up for brunch 4 weeks ago, and I had updated the hours on Google, and I thought I had updated on Yelp, but I hadn't hit save, and I had not updated it on TripAdvisor, and also Apple Maps had hours for us that I didn't even know how to access our profile on Apple Maps. So our manager, who's extremely adept at that sort of thing, went in and changed those. But there's nothing more confusing for a guest or that makes a restaurant look unorganized and dumber than to have different hours and different things posted in other places. It can get tough because there are some third party servers that, for instance, we had a guest come in and get mad the other night because she said, "Well, it says flounder online." And there was some third party website that had posted the first ever menu we had put up that had flounder on it. But that was, five different, we've done swordfish, red snapper, sablefish, and two others since then. And we haven't had flounder for a while. It's been a weirdly terrible flounder season here in North Carolina. But anyway, so there's some things you can control and some things that you can't control when it comes to what the guest is perceiving, but you don't know what your guests and your potential guests' point of ingress into your business is going to be, what is going to drive that conversion. So make sure that the information that you are able to put out there is 100% correct. Again, Google business profile, Yelp profile, TripAdvisor profile. These are all ones that you need to make sure that you have control over, and put as much information. You're able to customize those before you get to the level of paid engagement, of paid advertise to a very high level. You can put a ton of information in there. So take advantage of it. Use those pages to the best of your ability. Whatever your feelings are about Yelp, that's the first place a lot of people go when they're new in town to find a restaurant or when they're in town for one night only. And the last point about clarity, I want to circle back to the first example of Elizabeth and I sitting here and writing down the words that we wanted to describe that would become the core values for Hawthorne and Wood. So be clear with yourself and with your team on your why. Now, of course, this comes from Simon Sinek, Find Your Why. His point is that if you find your why of why you're doing things and you are so convinced of it, you are so convinced of that you are creating a business that is going to solve a particular problem for a particular avatar or market, that you believe in it wholeheartedly, and therefore you're willing to invest massive action and massive resources in it. And therefore, if you can then convince those first employees, that inner circle, that first circle of executive managers, whatever they are around you, of your why, you will all figure out the how. You have to know the why, but if you believe in the why strongly enough, you will figure out the how. So be clear on that, be clear with yourself, be clear with your team, and don't let that mission statement, if you have a mission statement, don't let those core values, if you have core values, die. Keep those alive. Keep those. You don't have to hammer people on it or quiz them on it, but make sure that if that's going to be the root of the experience, the guest experience, and the sense of hospitality that you have in your restaurant, talk about clarity, focus, precision, and grace. Put them in real world examples. When is the time that we need to be extremely focused? When is the time that a guest who might have pissed you off deserved grace? When was the time that another coworker deserved grace? They came in, they had a bad day, something beyond their control. They weren't able to leave it outside the door. How did you as a manager take a deep breath and show that person grace, so that not only they, but you and their coworkers and their guests could have a good service and could have a good night? And the very last thing I want to touch on about clarity is that you need to be clear with yourself every time that you go into service about what a realistic service looks like. Okay. You will have a more successful service if you are managing your expectations. If you're expecting 24 karat perfection from every single person on the team, that is unlikely to happen. But if you are going in knowing that you're going to make mistakes, and so are others, and they are probably mistakes of omission and not commission or ill will, you will have a much more successful service. So be clear with yourself about that. Manage your expectations before every single service. If you would like a little help with your business planning and budgeting, click the link in the show notes. I'll build some digital tools to help you all out with that. If you are getting good value from this free podcast, I know the price is right. We don't accept ads, we don't accept promotions. The only way that it grows is through word of mouth and your recommendations. So please click the drop down, give us 5 stars, and then forward it to 2 friends who have a bright future in the restaurant industry. Stay humble, stay hungry.